I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. This Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD. It was horrible.
In 1953, the CIA launched a program so horrific that they had to destroy almost every record of it. They called it MKUltra, and buried within its 149 sub-projects was an experiment that created something that shouldn't exist. Real zombies. Not the Hollywood kind. Real human beings, stripped of their will, their memory, their very sense of self. This is the declassified truth they tried to erase forever. After World War II, America faced a terrifying new enemy, the Soviet Union, and the CIA became obsessed with one question that kept them up at night. Could you control the human mind? In 1945, Operation Paperclip brought Nazi scientists to America, men who had conducted unspeakable experiments in concentration camps. The U.S. government gave them new identities, new lives, and new laboratories. By the early 1950s, reports emerged that American POWs in Korea were confessing to war crimes they never committed. The CIA believed the communists had discovered mind control techniques, and they were terrified of falling behind. So in April 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved a program that would become the most notorious mind control operation in American history, MKUltra. The goal? Quote, to investigate whether and how it was possible to modify an individual's behavior by covert means. What that really meant was, can we turn human beings into programmable weapons? Can we erase memories? Implant false ones? Create assassins who don't remember what they've done? And most disturbing of all, can we create soldiers who feel no pain, show no emotion, and follow orders without question, like biological robots? Between 1955 and 1975, at a classified military facility called Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland, the CIA and U.S. Army conducted experiments on over 7,000 American soldiers. These weren't volunteers in any real sense. They were told they'd be testing clothing and equipment. Instead, they became test subjects for 250 different chemical and biological agents. The experiments combined multiple techniques: massive doses of LSD, a drug called BZ that causes hallucinations for up to 80 hours, sensory deprivation tanks, electroshock therapy, and experimental compounds that had never been tested on humans. One compound, designated EA3167, produced effects that terrified even the researchers conducting the tests. Subjects given this combination would enter what internal memos described as a dissociative state. Their eyes would remain open, but they showed no recognition of their surroundings. They could follow simple commands: stand up, sit down, walk forward, but showed zero independent thought or decision-making. One researcher's notes, Declassified in 2007, described them as, quote, biological automatons, alive but not truly conscious. The lights are on, but nobody's home. The effect could last for days, sometimes weeks. In separate MKUltra experiments at psychiatric hospitals, CIA-funded doctors pushed even further. Dr. Ewan Cameron at McGill University in Montreal used a technique he called psychic driving. Patients, many admitted for minor issues like postpartum depression, were put into drug-induced comas for weeks. While unconscious, they were subjected to electroshock therapy at 30 to 40 times the normal intensity. Then forced to listen to recorded messages on loop, sometimes for 16 hours a day, for weeks on end. The results were catastrophic. Patients who entered Dr. Cameron's program for minor depression came out unable to recognize their own children. They had lost years of memories. Some forgot how to use a toilet, how to eat with utensils. Their personalities had been completely erased. One woman, Val Orlikow, testified before Congress in 1977. She had been admitted for postpartum depression. After Cameron's treatment, she couldn't remember her husband, her children, or her own name. It took years of rehabilitation for her to relearn basic life skills. At Edgewood Arsenal, soldiers exposed to BZ and experimental compounds exhibited what researchers called zombie-like behavior. Vacant stares, loss of speech, complete emotional flatness. They would stand motionless for hours unless given direct commands. One declassified report describes a soldier who, quote, showed no response to pain stimuli, no recognition of familiar faces, and no ability to perform tasks requiring independent judgment. Subject responded only to direct verbal commands in a mechanical fashion. The most disturbing case involved a test subject designated only as Patient 7 in Dr. Cameron's files. After 68 days of psychic driving treatment, this person had regressed to an infantile state. Couldn't speak. Couldn't feed themselves. Had to be taught everything from scratch, like a newborn. The CIA's own internal assessment, written in 1963 and declassified in 2001, admitted that, quote, some subjects experienced irreversible psychological damage. The line between behavior modification and personality destruction proved difficult to identify. They knew they were destroying human minds. And they kept going. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of all MKUltra records. Not some of them. All of them. Tens of thousands of pages documenting 2 decades of experiments were shredded, burned, and erased. The goal was simple: make sure the American people never found out what their government had done. But they made one critical mistake. A small cache of financial records, about 20,000 pages, had been misfiled in a budget office. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered them, and the truth started to come out. The Senate Church Committee investigated. Victims testified. The CIA was forced to admit that MKUltra was real. But here's what they didn't admit. How many people were experimented on? How many died? How many are still alive today, living with the consequences of what was done to them? The official number is 149 sub-projects, but declassified memos reference sub-project numbers as high as 185. That means at least 36 experiments remain completely unknown. Soldiers who participated in Edgewood Arsenal experiments were given $7,500 in compensation in 2009. That's it. No apology. No acknowledgement of the permanent damage done. Dr. Ewan Cameron died in 1967, never facing any consequences. The CIA paid his victims a settlement in 1988, an average of $100,000 each, but never admitted wrongdoing. And the techniques developed in these experiments? They didn't disappear. Declassified CIA torture memos from the 2000s reference enhanced interrogation techniques that are nearly identical to MKUltra methods: sensory deprivation, sleep deprivation, stress positions, psychological manipulation. The program officially ended in 1973. But the knowledge gained? That never went away. If you came this far, then I am sure that I deserve a subscribe and like on the video. Please comment. What do you think about it?